After 60, stop doing this for your kids. It's making you weaker every day. Have you ever caught yourself doing something for your grown kids that they could have easily done themselves, and then wondered why you felt a little tired, maybe even a little taken for granted? You're not alone. It happens to so many of us, especially once we hit our 60s and beyond. We love our kids. We want to help. That never stops, no matter how old they are or how old we are. But sometimes, without even realizing it, we start giving so much of ourselves that we slowly lose pieces of our own independence. Now, I'm not talking about big dramatic moments here. I'm talking about the little everyday things, the favors, the rides, the loans, can you watch the kids real quick? Moments that turn into full afternoons. And you might think, it's just who I am. I'm being a good parent. And yes, you probably are. But what if I told you that some of those well-meaning habits are actually holding you back? That they're keeping you from living freely, confidently, and fully in this next chapter of life? That's what we're diving into today. Let's talk about 5 things you should seriously consider stopping after 65. Not because you don't love your kids, but because your health, your peace, and your independence matter just as much as theirs. Let me start with something I see all too often: still managing your adult child's life like they're a teenager. It usually starts innocently enough. Maybe you're reminding them about doctor appointments, or you're stepping in to schedule things for them, or following up on their work dilemmas or relationship troubles, like you're still the family secretary. At first, it might even feel good, like you're staying useful, staying connected. But over time, you begin to carry mental loads that aren't yours anymore. And trust me, that kind of stress adds up fast. At 65 or older, your time and energy are precious resources. You've earned the right to rest, to focus on your own plans, to wake up in the morning and not immediately worry about someone else's problems. It doesn't mean you're cutting them off. It means you're letting them be the grown-ups they already are. And honestly, that's good for them too. They grow when they solve their own stuff. You grow when you give yourself room to breathe. Another thing that quietly chips away at your independence: giving them money without boundaries. And I know that's a tough one. We want to help when our kids are struggling. We feel guilty when we have more and they have less. But here's the truth. Constantly handing over financial support, especially when it's not an emergency, can become a trap. Not just for them, but for you. You might think it's only a couple $100s, or it's just helping them cover rent this month. But over time, those small amounts can pile up, and they often come with silent expectations. They may not even realize it, but if they know you'll always say yes, they stop looking for other solutions. Meanwhile, you may start feeling anxious about your own savings, your own retirement plans. You might start sacrificing things you enjoy: travel, hobbies, or just the comfort of knowing your bills are always covered, because you're constantly covering theirs. It's okay to say, I love you, but I need to prioritize my financial security now. That's not selfish. That's smart. And again, it's good for them too. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop cushioning the fall and let them figure out how to land on their own feet. Now, I want to pause for a second here and say, none of this comes from judgment. If you've done these things for your kids, it's because you care. That's a beautiful thing. But caring doesn't mean carrying, especially not at this stage of life. You've spent decades doing the heavy lifting. This is your season to start letting go of what no longer serves you. And sometimes, what no longer serves you is constantly rearranging your schedule around theirs. Maybe you've skipped a lunch with friends, or canceled a doctor's appointment, or missed your weekly class just because your child needed a favor. Again, it starts out small, but soon your calendar isn't your calendar anymore. It's theirs, with your name at the bottom. And that can start to feel like losing control over your own life. You begin to hesitate before making plans. You start thinking twice before committing to anything fun. Because, what if they need me that day? But you know what? Your time is just as valuable. You deserve to fill your days with things that light you up, not just things that keep someone else's life moving. So start saying yes to yourself more often. Yes to the book club, yes to the garden, yes to the walk, the nap, the weekend away. Start protecting your time like it's gold, because it is. You've earned every second of it. That brings me to another habit many of us fall into, being the default babysitter. And look, I get it. Watching the grandkids can be a joy. It brings warmth, laughter, a kind of love that fills the house. But when it starts to feel like an obligation instead of a choice, that's when it starts draining you. You shouldn't feel like you have to put your life on pause just to be available, just in case. If you want to help out from time to time, beautiful, but don't let guilt, pressure, or habit turn it into a full-time, unpaid job. Your day should belong to you. And if that means saying, no, I'm not available Friday afternoon, or I need to rest this weekend, then say it. Your body, your mind, your spirit, they all need space to recharge too. There's a quiet power in setting those boundaries. It reminds everyone around you that your life matters. Your plans matter. Your needs matter. And when you start living that way, not as a backup plan, but as the main character of your own life, you'll be amazed at how much lighter you feel. So we've talked about how giving too much of your time, energy, and money, even with the best intentions, can quietly chip away at your independence. But there's something else just as important, and it's often the hardest one to admit, and that's putting your kids' happiness ahead of your own, all the time. Now, I'm not saying you should stop caring about their well-being. Of course not. You'll always care. That's what makes you a parent. But there's a subtle trap many of us fall into, especially as we get older, and that's believing that their happiness is our responsibility. That if they're struggling, it must mean we didn't do enough. That if they're unhappy, it's somehow on us to fix it. And when that becomes your mindset, it can weigh you down more than you realize. You start saying yes when you really mean no. You agree to things that leave you tired, frustrated, or even resentful. You may even catch yourself walking on eggshells, afraid that if you set a boundary, it'll upset them or cause tension. And that pressure to always keep the peace, it can feel suffocating. But here's the truth. Your job as a parent isn't to make your adult children happy. It's to model what a full, healthy, balanced life looks like. And sometimes that means letting them sit with their own discomfort, letting them work through their own messes, letting them experience consequences, not out of cruelty, but out of love and trust that they can handle it. You are not their emotional safety net anymore. You can be their cheerleader, their listening ear, their source of wisdom. But you don't need to sacrifice your joy so they can feel better about theirs. That's not love. That's codependence in disguise. And you deserve more freedom than that. One of the most powerful things you can do after 65 is give yourself permission to be happy. Even if your kids are still figuring things out. Even if they don't always understand your choices. Your happiness is not a betrayal of them. It's a gift to yourself, and honestly, it's a gift to them too. Because it shows them what aging with dignity and confidence really looks like. And while we're on the topic of choices, there's another behavior to reflect on. Making major life decisions based solely on what's best for your kids. This one is so common, and it often comes from a place of deep love. Maybe you're considering moving closer to them, or downsizing to help with their finances, or changing your plans just to make their life easier. And look, sometimes those decisions can make sense. But the problem comes when you don't ask yourself what you want first. When your needs, your preferences, and your dreams take a back seat every time. I once knew a woman in her 70s who gave up her dream of moving to a quiet beach town just because her daughter said, "But what if I need you nearby?" So instead, she stayed in the city, surrounded by noise and traffic, rarely even seeing that daughter, who was always busy anyway. And years later, she said to me, "I wish I had gone. I didn't realize how many good years I still had left." And that's the thing, you still have good years ahead. Years where you can grow, explore, rest, reinvent, and enjoy life on your terms. So before you say yes to a big shift, selling the house, uprooting your routine, becoming a full-time helper, ask yourself, am I doing this for them? Or is this what I really want? And be honest. You owe yourself that honesty. You've spent so much of your life giving, adjusting, compromising. Now's your time to reclaim space for yourself, not in a selfish way, but in a self-honoring way. Because here's the hard truth a lot of people don't talk about. When you keep bending over backward for your adult kids, you may think you're helping, but you could be unintentionally creating a dynamic where they expect it, where they don't learn to respect your limits, where they see you more as a resource than as a person with your own hopes, needs, and boundaries. And that's not their fault. That's the pattern you've both been in. But the good news is patterns can change at any age. All it takes is one brave moment of truth, one honest conversation, one boundary lovingly set, one day where you say, I'm not available for that, without guilt or apology. And the more you do it, the more your kids will adjust. The more they'll learn to respect the space you're carving out for yourself. You're not abandoning them. You're trusting them to stand on their own. You're trusting yourself to stand tall too. Because here's something beautiful to remember. Your independence isn't just about saying no to them. It's about saying yes to yourself. Yes to a new class you've been curious about. Yes to an afternoon nap because your body needs it. Yes to traveling without checking in on everyone else's schedule first. Yes to being the main character in this vibrant, fulfilling chapter of your life. You've given enough. Now it's time to live enough. One of the most subtle but deeply draining things we do as parents, especially later in life, is shrinking ourselves emotionally just to keep the peace. We tiptoe around conversations. We avoid sharing our true feelings. We don't speak up when we feel disrespected, overlooked, or dismissed. We downplay our opinions, stay quiet when we're hurt, and tell ourselves, it's not worth it. I don't want to upset them. But here's the thing. When you do that enough times, you start disappearing in your own life. Your thoughts matter. Your voice matters. Your boundaries matter. And after 65, when time starts feeling more precious and your days feel shorter than they once did, you deserve to live them honestly and fully. Not quietly resenting things you don't say. Not walking on eggshells around your own children. Not biting your tongue every time something feels off. I know it's not always easy. Sometimes we're afraid they'll push us away if we speak up. Or maybe we worry they'll say, you're just being dramatic, or you always make things about you. And hearing those things from your own child can cut deep. But staying silent hurts too, and that pain sits quietly in your heart until it starts weighing everything down. You don't need to be loud to be clear. You don't need to be angry to be honest. You can say, when you speak to me that way, it hurts. Or, I feel like my time isn't being respected. Or simply, that doesn't work for me anymore. And you don't need to justify it. You don't need to explain every emotion or defend every boundary. You just need to honor your truth and allow that truth to take up space. Because the older we get, the more we realize inner peace is priceless. And people who genuinely love and respect us, they'll adjust. They'll grow with us. And if they don't, well, that doesn't mean you did something wrong. It just means you're finally choosing you. And choosing yourself doesn't mean cutting your kids out. It doesn't mean loving them any less. It means you're finally putting your needs into the equation where they've always belonged. That brings me to something that might sound small, but can actually have a huge impact on how you feel day to day. Stop always waiting for them to reach out first. This one is sneaky because it often hides under hurt feelings. Maybe you notice they haven't called in a few days or weeks. Maybe they only text when they need something. Maybe holidays and birthdays feel more and more like afterthoughts. And it stings. Of course it does. You raised them. You showed up for every scraped knee, every heartache, every milestone. And now you're left wondering if they even think about you on a regular Tuesday. But here's the hard truth. If you sit and wait for them to fill that space, you will stay stuck in disappointment. You'll grow more frustrated, more bitter, more invisible with every unanswered call. So what's the shift? It's realizing that you don't need to be in waiting mode. You don't need their permission to start living fully. You don't need their call to feel valuable today. Reach out if you want to, but not because you're craving their attention. Do it because you genuinely want to connect. And if they're not receptive, that's okay too. You don't have to stay parked at their emotional doorstep. Instead, look around at what you can build now. Friendships, hobbies, volunteering, travel, learning. These are not things you need to deserve or earn through your children's attention. They are yours for the taking. Life is still here waiting for you to say yes to it. You are not a backup character in their lives. You are the lead in your own. Letting go of certain behaviors doesn't mean letting go of love. It means redefining love in a way that keeps you whole. A love that doesn't demand constant sacrifice. A love that respects your time, your voice, your space, and your needs. Because guess what? When your kids see you living fully, when they see you saying no with grace, speaking with clarity, creating joy in your own life, they actually respect you more. They may not say it out loud, but something shifts. You go from being the person who always rescues to being someone they admire, someone they learn from, someone they look at and say, that's the kind of strength I want when I'm older. And that, in the end, might be one of the greatest gifts you ever give them. So take a deep breath right now. Really, go ahead. Breathe in. Let it fill your chest. You are not just someone's parent. You are a whole person, still growing, still learning, still becoming. You do not need to earn your rest. You do not need to prove your worth by staying overly available. You do not need to say yes just to feel needed. You have done more than enough. And now it's your time to reclaim your days, to protect your peace, and to live with the kind of freedom you've always deserved. It's a strange thing, isn't it? How easily we forget that our lives belong to us, that we're allowed to grow, evolve, and even change direction. Even after 65, especially after 65. There's this old story a lot of us carry deep inside, passed down from generations before, that once you become a parent, that's who you are forever. That your identity stays wrapped up in mom or dad, and everything else, your dreams, your time, your needs, comes second. But the truth is, that story is outdated. You don't stop being a parent, but you start becoming something more, something fuller. And that starts when you give yourself permission to stop doing the things that no longer serve you, to step out of roles that feel heavy, to stop carrying loads that were never meant to be permanent. You've spent years, maybe decades, giving your kids all the tools they need. Now it's time to trust that they'll use them. That trust can feel uncomfortable at first. There's a voice inside that whispers, what if they can't handle it? Or what if they pull away? But there's another voice too, the one that's been quietly waiting for its turn to speak. The one that says, what if you finally get to live without holding your breath? That voice deserves your attention. Letting go of these habits isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about stepping into your power. The power to say no. The power to choose what's best for you. The power to live a life where you're not always the helper, the fixer, the safety net, but where you're free to be curious, spontaneous, joyful, and yes, even a little bit selfish in the best possible way. You've probably spent so much of your life making sure everyone else was okay. Now, I want you to ask yourself something simple, but powerful. What would my life look like if I stopped putting myself last? Maybe you'd finally take that trip you've been dreaming of for years. Maybe you'd join that painting class, or writing group, or walking club. Maybe you'd sleep in without guilt. Maybe you'd fill your home with new music, new laughter, new people who see you not just as a parent or grandparent, but as a vibrant, living, whole person. And maybe, just maybe, you'd realize that the best version of you isn't the one who's always giving. It's the one who feels balanced, centered, whole. That shift might feel small at first. It might look like turning down a favor, or deciding not to rearrange your schedule, or politely declining a request that leaves you drained. But over time, those small choices add up. They create space. They restore confidence. They give you your time back. And there's nothing more valuable than that. You are not less loving because you have limits. You are not less needed because you say no. You are not less of a parent because you want to enjoy this stage of life on your terms. In fact, setting those boundaries, that's the most loving, mature, and powerful thing you can do for your kids and for yourself. Because your kids are watching, whether they admit it or not. They're learning how to age by watching you. They're learning what strength looks like, what self-respect looks like, what it means to grow older with grace and courage. You are teaching them, through your choices, that life doesn't stop being meaningful or exciting just because the kids are grown. You're showing them that it's okay to choose peace over pressure, joy over obligation, yourself over endless sacrifice. That's a legacy worth leaving behind. So as we wrap up, I want you to remember this. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to reclaim your time. You are allowed to put yourself first. And no, doing that doesn't make you a bad parent. It makes you a healthy one, a whole one, a wise one. If you've been nodding along with this video, maybe feeling seen, maybe even a little emotional, that's okay. This isn't easy work, but it is powerful work. And it starts with just one step, one honest conversation, one boundary set, one no that leads to a yes for yourself. You don't need anyone's permission to start. You are enough exactly as you are. You've given enough, loved enough, carried enough. Now it's your turn. If this message spoke to you, I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. Have you experienced any of these situations? Have you started to make changes in your own life? Let's support each other, because this journey is better when we walk it together. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more gentle, honest conversations like this. You deserve a space that puts your voice first, and that's what this channel is here for. Until next time, keep standing tall, keep choosing yourself, and remember, independence is not something you lose with age. It's something you reclaim, one choice at a time. Here's to living your best life at any age. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. If this video gave you something to think about or made you smile, please give it a like, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom every week. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and join the conversation. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Until next time, stay wise, stay kind, and take care.